Oh, hello. For our music today, Linda Kaminsky.
All right, good afternoon. So today I am bringing you a brand new patriotic song, and technically it's a hymn. It's in hymn form. So in 2020, Matt Malone, who is a Jesuit priest, was attending a national conference on all of the issues that divide us as a nation. During the conference, he was reminded of the power of music to bring people together. So he began, during the conference, to write the words for this patriotic hymn for contemporary America. And he set the lyrics to a very familiar hymn tune, Aurelia, which isn't new. It was written by Samuel Sebastian Wesley in 1864, but it is still used in practically every denominational church today. So today you will hear America, My Country, and it will be sung by our very own Stephen Slusher, faculty member from the YVC Music Department.
Thank you very much. That was terrific. Did I also hear someone named Jerry Kaminsky on the organ? No. It wasn't? Okay. All right. With our invocation today, David Links.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've shared with you some of the words of Brother David Steinhold Ross a few years ago, and I thought I'd share some of them again today. He writes, "You think this is just another day in your life. It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and it's the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that is this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it was the first day of your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes to open, that incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to you for pure enjoyment. Look at the faces of the people that you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face, a story you will never fully fathom, not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. And so I wish for you today that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you, that everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you, just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your present. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you, and then it will really be a good day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. And please be seated, although you already are. Unfortunately, you're going to get to hear from me quite a bit today in the early part of the meeting, but we'll start off with the introduction of guests. Monica Cohil is a guest of Felix Rifa. Anthony Peterson, a guest of Adriana Gardner. Melissa Laberton is a guest of someone named Kurt Laberton. And Maddie Sells is a guest of Miketa. So please welcome our guests. We're delighted to have you here, and hope you enjoy your meeting today. So we're going to go a little off the script today in the sense that I'm going to talk a little bit more, and I thought it's time to talk to you about something that's going to be happening fairly soon. Hopefully I'll have this turned on properly. Okay. Now we'll see if it works. No. This is my total failure on technology. Anyway, I think most of you know by this time that we are doing the Rotary Marketplace, which is a development downtown, which I can't seem to get this thing to supposedly on. I think it's on. Let's try it again. There we go. Got it. This will be located, let me give you a little bit of background as we go into this. This was something that we started working on now almost 2 years ago. Shortly after that little group appeared at my door in 2019, I think it's 2019 now, 2 years ago, we started talking about a project, and I met with the presidents-elect of the two other clubs, Taylor Stormo and Del Miles, and we were looking for some kind of project downtown. And what kind of came to the fore after looking at a number of options was to do something on the lot that's between the railroad tracks and the old Pacific Fruit Building, a building that's now occupied partly by Washington Department of Ecology and the other part by Memorial Hospital Business Services. And the concept was to create some kind of a marketplace or gathering spot and start, because there's begun to be a number of things happening on Front Street. There's some other things coming down the pike in the future years that might create more of a destination spot for Front. And this spot, which had formerly been occupied by the Track 29, looked like it would be available. And we came up with the idea of building a shelter. I reached out to Rod Nipper and to come up with some kind of an open pavilion or whatnot that would run down the middle of that track and middle of that space. And it seemed like a pretty simple thing. It's just some support posts and a roof. Well, as you may imagine, as you get into these things, you discover they're a lot more complicated than you think. Number one, we designed it also, you could get a sense how it would look on the spot there. And this is just kind of the rough drawing. And then when Rod Nipper got a hold of it, of course, he decided to make it look like the train station, which was next door. And so this is actually using the same brickwork, same tile work and whatnot as on the 2010 railroad depot, which is right across the tracks from it. The concept, again, is an open pavilion. The front part will be this kind of the more architecturally pleasing piece, and will be used for farmers market. It also can be used for all kinds of events on the weekends. One of the things that any of you who have worked on downtown events or any kind of a large gathering downtown, as I've unfortunately gotten involved in over the many years I've been here, is that the infrastructure downtown is very poor for these kinds of events. There isn't enough power, there isn't water, and so we were trying to create something that would allow for all those things to happen. And this is what we came up with. It seemed like a pretty simple kind of structure, wouldn't really be that expensive to build, but as with everything, it turned out to be a lot more complicated than one would think. Not only is it complicated because, number one, it's a construction project from the ground up, but first we had to acquire the lease to the land on which it will sit. This is owned by Memorial Hospital, and that the hospital was very supportive, and it has been supportive right along, but they also were involved in something called a pandemic. So, trying to deal with little legal parts of this took a long time. Plus the fact we discovered when we got into the design of it that this footprint of this thing will span what is 3 separate parcels of property. That meant that those parcels had to be Marie's familiar with this, had to be realigned or reconfigured and combined. And that's now been done and is pretty much ready to go. The other thing we discovered, which you may not be apparent just in looking at it, is that the west side of this, the part closest to the building, is slightly higher than the right side. And this is because, me, the historian, trying to figure out why this is true, because that was all a rail yard originally. And there were rail buildings and also a place where the rail cars would come in and they would be loaded both with ice and then with fruit. But part of the reason, the reason that the left-hand side is, or the west side is higher, is because on that side they simply asphalted over the tracks. They didn't take them out, so they raised it. So this created some drainage issues and whatnot. So, but anyway, we persevered through the help of Tri-Ply Construction as well as Moen Construction coming up, and KDA Architecture then, and HLA and Leslie Engineering are all working on putting all the pieces together. We're just about finished with the design work now. But the big surprise was somewhere along the project, we realized it was going to cost a lot more than we thought it was going to, as with anything. And so as a result, Rotary, all the Rotary clubs, the Rotary Trust, and the Rotary District have all contributed to this. And we also have private contributions, which are now totaling about the Rotary gift plus the private contributions now total about 1.1 million. And we're still going to need a little bit more, and we're working on that at this particular time. Of course, anybody can write a check right now, but we're pretty excited about this. We're pretty excited about how it's going to lay out on the property. This kind of shows it a little bit. It's kind of hard to see in the schematic, but basically you can kind of see the front part, which is right on Yakima Avenue. It'll be very visible for Rotary, and then it extends perpendicular from Yakima Avenue. Way at the far end from Yakima Avenue, you'll see 2 little black spots. Those are actually little bulletproof bunkers in which the controls will be for electric and water. Another kind of visualization of it. This is actually a recent thing that just came along. We happened to acquire the Ding Ho Chinese food sign, and one of the things we've been talking about in this marketplace is also to light it. And the Millennium Foundation actually has an RFP out now, possibly to find a piece of art, light-based art that will go with it. This Ding Ho Chinese food sign is now available to be used in it. I also have the funding actually separate from this other funding to have it restored. and hung in that sign, in that place. I wish there was the steaks and chicken part, but that's doesn't exist anymore. That's gone. We could remake it, but that's yet another cost. Many of you may or may not know that this is actually where Kentucky Fried Chicken, Jack Harmon started in Yakima at this spot. So it kind of has a bit of history, which has my interest to it. The other part, because of that neon piece, this will have the rotary wheel on it, and one of the things I'm looking into at this particular time is actually doing this in neon. So that will also be on the front of it, so it'll be pretty spectacular, actually, when it's finished. So we're hoping that this will start sometime this spring. As I say, the designs are just about finished. All the legal work is coming to an end. I just have to raise a little bit more money, but we'll be able to start it anyway, and I'm sure we'll be able to get it up and running. So that's just kind of an update on where it is. There will be some opportunities for some of you to work on it when we get closer to it. I know you're looking forward to that. I will try to schedule those work days like Kelly did for the Rotary playground and pick the days when it's 125 degrees because I know you're going to want to do that. So anyway, that's where that is. Thank you. The construction is not going to take that long. It's probably going to be, I would say, 3 or 4 months once we get underway, because the back part is pre-engineered. That will come as well, not as a unit, obviously, but it's going to come in pieces and then simply has to be put together. The front part will take, and Michael Moen is working a little bit on that part, and he could tell us that it probably could be done in a week. I think Michael's here, right? 24 hours? Okay. All right. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So my hope was that we'd have it ready by the beginning of the farmers market season this year, but I don't think that's realistic. But hopefully we'll have it ready by the end of the year. Craig? There are not going to be restrooms because number one, they are a hassle to deal with. Public restrooms are just a nightmare. And the downtown, that one thing I didn't say is the Downtown Association will take over all the maintenance operation of it as soon as it's built. And the final decision was that we would bring in restrooms when we have events, because it's just, maintaining public restrooms is just a nightmare. And that's the reason. So, but there will be water and power and everything available at it. So, and with that, after this meeting, several of you I know I've talked to about coming to a meeting afterwards to talk about kind of these next steps, and that's going to be in Conference Room 1 right after this meeting. Any of you are invited definitely to be involved in this. There's lots of opportunities to get involved now that we're getting closer to it. It has been a long slog, I can tell you, because it's you think everything's simple, but by the time you design and do legal work and all that kind of stuff, and with a pandemic on top, it's taken some time. So, with that, let's move on. I've talked long enough, as Carolyn is telling me right down there. As you know, this is Black History Month, February, and Eric Silvers has made arrangements for people to speak each week. And today we are blessed to have Reverend Robert Trimble to talk about his experiences.
Good afternoon. It's the first time I've been a little nervous. It's hard for me to talk about myself because I don't usually do too much talking about me. But anyway, my name is Reverend Robert Trimble. I was born and raised in a Christian home in Atlanta, Georgia. I have 28 brothers and sisters. My mother, all the last kids were 10 boys. and I'm the third oldest boy in the second set. So, what? I finished high school in Atlanta, Georgia. I was able to meet Martin Luther King and march with them when we were boycotting in Atlanta, Georgia. Rich's clothing stores and other sit-ins around Atlanta, Georgia. I was a teenager, had lots of energy, and so on my spare time, we were able to go to a movie. The movie only cost 10 cents back there then. And I saw this movie, To Hell and Back, by Arthur Murphy. And I said, God, that's what I want to do. I want to get up on that tank and shoot that machine gun. And so about 3 months later, I joined the Army. After I got the letter that I was going to be inducted into the United States Army, and so I said, no, I went down and talked to the officer, and he made a deal with me. If I go ahead and join, I would be able to get a college education. So I did. So I went through my training, and so I got stationed at Fort Lewis. And at Fort Lewis, I got prepared to go to Vietnam. And after we finished that tour, I got out in 66. And I was glad to get out because I was on my way back to Atlanta. So I had saved up about $2,000. And so I got discharged with an honorable discharge, and I was on my way driving. I had bought an old 1956 Dodge from my mess sergeant. I was going to drive that all the way back to Atlanta, Georgia. And so on that Friday when I got out at 12 noon, I headed out on Highway 5, and boom, about halfway down the freeway, I blew a head gasket. And that was on a Friday evening. And so I had it towed in downtown Tacoma, and the mechanic said, well, we don't work on cars on the weekend, so you have to wait till Monday. And so there I was in Tacoma, didn't know anybody because I had missed church a lot, going to church on the weekend. And so lo and behold, I went to St. John Baptist Church and met my pastor, Reverend Bowles. And so he found me a place to stay. And so I got my car fixed, and he said, well, why don't you stay down here, and we'll see what we can do to find you a job. I said, no, I want to go back to Atlanta. And so I blew that $2,000. And so I enrolled in Tacoma Community College. I finished that. I met Muhammad Ali through the Black Student Union. And then after that, I was transferred over to Central Washington University. When I finished my degree, I got a college degree from Central Washington. And then after that, I was promised to, if I would stay, they would get me a job. I did my internship down here in the elementary school, which was Cassaville Elementary School. And so after I finished that, I was working at the Southeast Community Center with Mr. Beauchamp, and Mr. Beauchamp told me, said, well, did you say you was going to go back to Atlanta? I said, yeah, as soon as I save up enough money. And so after that, he said, well, why don't you stay here? We need you in the valley. We need you on the reservation. I said, well, I don't know. I'm going on back to Atlanta, Georgia. And so, and so I got a job here, and I stayed here. I said, yeah, I'll stay here, but I will only teach for 1 year because I want to go back to Atlanta. And so I taught here a year. I learned how to ski. I learned a little bit about the mountain climbing. I love that. I never seen the Four Seasons. I love that. And so, lo and behold, I fell in love with Yakima. And so I began to make my home here. And then I was going back and forth to Atlanta, Georgia. And so I met, after Martin Luther King got assassinated, and then about 2 or 3 years later, I met Coretta Scott King, and she told me that she was going to be working on getting Martin Luther King a holiday. And I told her where I was from. You know, I told her I was from Atlanta also. And she said, yeah, I remember the Trimble family, the biggest family in Atlanta. And so she said, well, if you go back up to the Pacific Northwest, well, would you be willing to help me to get that holiday for Dr. King? I said, sure. And so, lo and behold, I came back and began to work with the holiday in 1984. I ran the Jesse Jackson campaign, and we won the county during that time. And then on 1988, Jesse ran again, and we didn't win the county that time. But I kept on working, and then I petitioned the city in 1984 to rename a street in the honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. And it took me 21 years. Every year I would go to the council and petition to name a street. And so in 2006, the Yakima City Council named the street after Martin Luther King Jr. I said that to say all this. I never lost my dream. I met a lot of important people. I met Dr. Sullivan, the founder of OIC. I met Ralph Abernathy. I met Rosa Parks. Let's see who else. Well, anyway, I mentioned all those names to say this. They had a great impact on my life. They had a great influence on my life. But the greatest influence on my life was my mother when I left going to the Army. She said, Robert, don't forget what I've given you. I've given you the gift of love. And no matter where you go, you demonstrate that love that I have. I don't have anything to give you, but I gave you a good life and a good example. And so those principles stayed with me through my ups and through my downs. And so here I am, part one of my life, giving tributes to my mother who made me the man that I am today. I thank God for a loving and caring mother. God bless you.
Wonderfully done. We don't get many standing ovations in this club. So thank you very much, Reverend Trimble. Sergeant at Arms, Nancy Leahy.
All right. Got to get a few little things out here to get in the mood for what we're doing. Okay. Well, this has been a one moment in time week for sure. One moment in time, and it's time for a celebration. What a week for so many athletes in our valley as well as the world. And I'd like to welcome you all today to Trophy Time, because your dollars, and please have them ready, will go to Rotary charities in honor of these trophies that have been earned by our athletes in the valley and around the world. It'll be easy to give, and you just might get a trophy yourself for your teamwork, perseverance, sportsmanship, and skill. Now, if you answer yes to any of these, please pay $1 and we will give you a USA holler, because that's what you deserve for standing by and watching our athletes. We've seen trophies on the podium, on TV, in parades, in news, and there are trophies on our tables today that you may be one to take home. So why are trophies so important? This poem to me kind of said it all. Shining clear and bright in the cabinet to the right is the memory when its owner touched great height. It's a pleasure to behold with the story in its fold, the success encouraged, most precious as gold, tempting me to embrace, giving pride and the grace that I can still within me the zeal and the craze trace. So get ready and get set, because if you cheered Nathan Chen on for his outstanding score as he won the gold medal in the men's figure skating in the Beijing Olympics, please pay $1. USA! Now, if you cheered Erin Jackson as she won the gold in the women's 500-meter race and became the first black woman ever to win a speed skating medal, pay $1. USA! And if you cheered and pumped your fist when the veteran snowboarders Nick Baumgartner and 36-year-old Lindsay Jacobel, oh, by the way, Baumgartner was age 40, and then Lindsay Jacobelli at age 36, both athletes with 4 previous Olympic tries, well, they won the gold medal in the snowboard cross event. Pay $2 for Nick and Lindsay. They won the gold, and Nick was the oldest Olympian in the Olympics this year, which truly proves the trick is always to try. Collect tries like you collect trophies, and you'll never have a losing day. Now, please pay $1 also if you watched Kaylee Humphreys earn a gold medal, or fellow American Elena Taylor earn silver in the first ever monobob sled competition. USA! Now, at this point, please raise your hand if you believe the United States is leading the medal race right now. Could you raise your hand if you think USA is ahead? Okay, we got a couple there. All right, raise your hand if you think the ROC, Russian Olympic Committee, are they leading the medals? Oh, a few more hands there. Raise your hand if you think Norway is leading all countries. We've got some, oh, this is looking better, yeah. But now raise your hand if you think Canada is leading the medal race in the world. Okay. Well, all of you who raised your hand, other than those who raised Norway, please pay $1. It is Norway leading the world right now with 22 trophies or medals, and so please treat yourself, your Norwegian fans, to a trophy in the middle of the table and take it with you. So Norway with 22, ROC has 18, and the USA, Canada, and Austria are all tied for 3rd place. It's a triple try there. Okay, we got one final cheer to get out here. If you cheered, put your fist in the air, or jumped out of your chair when Davis graduate Yakima's Cooper Cup scored the winning touchdown, or was named MVP of the Super Bowl game, please pay your final $1 for watching one of the finest Super Bowl performances ever. USA! Just a reminder that shining clear and bright in the cabinet to the right is the memory when the owner touched great height. I say this poem twice with one final request. Please be aware that experiencing a trophy award is more difficult for youth right now than it has been for decades. The cost and accessibility of sports and activities is limiting opportunities for our kids to participate. For 6 to 12-year-old age group, participation in sports has dropped 25% in the last 8 years. That is huge for middle school kids. Additionally, children from low-income homes are less likely to play in sports at all. Now, it is encouraging that high schoolers have increased by 1% in participation each year for the last 8 years. That is encouraging. However, finding coaches for teams under 14 years of age is a huge challenge. Only 1 of 5 of these coaches has any motivation training, and only 1 in 3 skill training. So if you coached a youth team or are the parent of a child that was involved in sports, please take a trophy with you today and present it to a young person you see out there playing ball on one of our playgrounds maybe, or riding their bikes, and please award them for their physical fitness. Rotary seeks to empower youth through leadership and development activities. In fact, this is one of our 5 avenues of service. USA. Thank you. And to our president,
Oh, yeah.
the ultimate gold medal.
This would be the only way I would win a gold medal. Anything to do with athletics. So anyway, thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate it. Today for our program, we have kind of a double team. Drew Harris and Moriet Miketa, both involved in real estate. And I know many of us have wondered how real estate is working in the what's happening in real estate as we watch houses go on the market and sell quickly, and where these people coming from, and some of the other things to do with that. So we're going to start today with Drew, who's going to speak about his experience. He's a new member here of the club. He's has been working in real estate with Moriet, and we're delighted to have him speak. And it'll be followed by Moriet, who's been in the real estate business for 23 years. She started when she was 5. So she is, and Drew, I don't know if you started when you were 5, but maybe. So anyway, without further ado, Drew Harris.
All right. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. When I was asked to do my classification talk, I took some time to think about what I would like to discuss. I was told that it should be something that people did not know about me and would provide some insight into who I am. No thanks to Malcolm after that great introduction he gave me there today. I wanted to make sure it was something that involved who I am, but at the same time would provide you with some good information in relation to our community instead of something just about me. I knew that Moriet would be talking about real estate today, so I crossed that off my list. Being that this great group of Rotarians does so much for the community, I decided to give quick summaries of 2 major projects taking place in the community that I am fortunate to be involved with. It only makes sense because I love to volunteer and I strive to make this community better however I can. I was going to discuss one of these projects, but they are both very, very important to me, so I could not select just one. I'm aware that I only have 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep these brief. The first project would be the Rod's House Overnight Shelter. As Malcolm mentioned in my introduction, I'm the Vice President for Rod's House Board of Directors, but I'm also on the design team for our new overnight shelter. People always ask me 2 questions about Rod's House. Do we have boys and girls there, and where do the kids stay? For some reason, a lot of people think that Rod's House is only helps boys, but we do help boys and girls. And in the past, we haven't been able to actually house the kids because we didn't have the capacity to. So right now, currently, we only provide shelter for the youth during the colder months with our winter shelter program that runs out of a hotel. Then a little over a year ago, we opened a small-scale overnight shelter in Sunnyside at a building that was not being used anymore. But now we'll be building a beautiful multi-million-dollar shelter that will be one of a kind on this side of the mountains. This is a project that we are very excited about and has been in the works for years now. Last year, we took one step closer and purchased land right down the road from here on Chestnut, right off of Fair Ave. For those wondering if there's a need for this, let me provide some statistics. In 2016, there were over 2,600 students in the Yakima County schools that were experiencing homelessness, and this likely underrepresents our numbers today. Youth homelessness in our county has quadrupled the last 11 years. The year before COVID hit, Rotel served over 400 young people. There are currently no licensed overnight emergency beds in Yakima County for minors living in unsafe or unhealthy conditions. This shelter will be for youth 13 to 17 years old and young adults 18 to 24 years old. Although it will be one building, this will be completely divided to separate the youth from the young adults. And this will be the first time we have the licensing to house youth under 18 as well, because there's a special license that goes with that. Here are some details of the building. There will be 8 youth beds and 10 young adult beds, 24/7 on-site staff, daytime case managers, behavioral health specialists, substance abuse recovery support, education and employment support, and life skills classes. We currently are finishing all the nuances of design and are on track to break ground this spring, and the plan is to be completed by summer of 2023. The second project is the Miller Park remodel. This is one that started with a couple of us in the community seeing the need to restore this essential northeast neighborhood park. It then led to a committee being created. This committee was formed of various community members, Parks and Rec, some city council members, the mayor, and even our great Bob Harrison got involved. Miller Park was Yakima's first designated neighborhood park and was constructed in 1923. But it sits in one of Yakima's lowest income and most diverse neighborhoods, where the median family income is $31,000, 58% of the neighbors live in poverty, and 75% are minorities. The neighborhood deserves a beautiful and safe park, just as there are in other areas of town. This park has been neglected for too long. At Miller's, there's not even a porta potty. How many parks can you think of in town that do not have a bathroom? Parents that I met at the park said that when they take their kids there to play at the splash pad or on the toys, that they have to take their kids to the alleyway to go to the bathroom. How sad is that? There are many issues with the park, including cracks in the ground that are unsafe, old playground, no lighting around the basketball courts. I'll try to set a timer for myself. Hold on. This park is extra special to me because I grew up playing basketball there day and night as a kid. If it was not for this park where I honed my skills, I would not have made it out of my neighborhood and received a basketball scholarship to Seattle U. So I know the importance of a safe place to play. Therefore, the committee put together a presentation and used an in that we had inside the governor's office to show the need for funding to remodel this park. Last year, we received $629,000 from the governor to make this project happen, along with some money that I raised from going to local businesses. And now the ordering has begun. Some of the items that will be purchased are an ADA playground, new basketball courts and hoops, lights around the courts, a walkway through the park, a covered performance stage, new park pavilion, and finally installing a restroom. And if we can raise a little extra money, then we hope to add workout equipment around the playground area to encourage parents to work out while their kids play. The goal would be to have the park done sometime this summer. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to share a couple of my passions.
Well, he's not impressive at all, is he? You know, I've known Drew for a long time, and it's so much fun watching his commitment to this valley and coming back. He never stops giving. He never stops looking for opportunity. It kind of chokes me up. Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Craig Gilbert gave me a call, I think maybe a week and a half ago, and said, hey, you want to talk about real estate? Thankfully, it's something I'm pretty darn passionate about. But before I dove into that, I wanted to share a quick story. When I was asked to do this, my sweet new assistant, Maddie Sell, says, I'm a Rotarian. I got a Rotary scholarship when I was in middle school. And it just reminded me how Rotary touches people's lives without us ever knowing. And they set up a little savings account for her. She got Rotarian Student of the Year. So thank you, Rotary, and so lucky to have that young lady with me. I tend to talk a little fast. If you need me to slow down, please wave at me. If you have a question along the way, please ask. I just want to give you sort of a broad overview of what's happening with real estate. What really has changed? What does the future of real estate look like? I can tell you it's a whole lot different than when I started 23 years ago. What's happening in our market, and talking about new construction and luxury homes. Those are two things I get a lot of questions about. So honestly, a lot has changed, from the way we order food on our phones to the way we order our groceries all on a computer. The way we eat, Lord knows I have 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 meals a day in my car. And of course, the way we meet through Zoom. All of those things in our regular life are ways that change has shown up. A lot of that was, of course, driven by COVID. With real estate, when somebody would come to town, they would go to the local real estate office and say, hey, I need to buy a house. It was even like that 23 years ago. And we'd whip out this nifty book, kind of like the Yellow Pages, and we'd go through and we'd highlight and circle the homes that were in their price range and so forth. Well, now, the gateway is this third party, which would be a company like Zillow or Realtor.com or Trulia, and a whole plethora of a bunch more of those sort of third-party websites. So now the consumer is going there to find a home, and then they're asking their friend or family member, oh, I want to go see this house, who should I call, right? So this introduction of this third party, not a big fan, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So some of the changes that have occurred. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. To my point, I'm trying to build on that new. A lot of people ask me, why are there so many buyers out there? What has created this insane demand in our real estate market? We have the millennials, which are the largest group of buyers coming into our marketplace. These are young people. They're typically in their 30s. And guess what? They have money. Yeah, lots of money. They've saved. And they're able to put a big chunk of money down. Their first home, they'll spend $350,000, $400,000. How much did you guys pay for your first home? I paid $88,000, and I thought that was a lot. I would imagine there's some maybe in the tens and 15,000, right? So 17, yeah. So it's a little bit different right now. The boomers, we expected these boomers, many of them are in this room, for you guys to go and sell that 4,500 square foot monster house that you raised your family in and downsize. But the fact is, you've been staying put a lot. So we haven't had this introduction of homes coming back into the market. People are staying put. In fact, people used to stay about 7 years, move about every 7 years. That is now extended to 10 years. It'll be interesting to see with COVID if it's even pushed it to longer. So we have less inventory of resale homes going into the marketplace. And then we have this Gen X group, might be one of those, and they are typically stepping up. They're going into the luxury products. So anything over in Yakima, that would be really around $600,000. Am I doing all right so far? The stats that I'm going to share with you are Yakima residential. These are stick-built homes, so it does not include manufactured homes and it does not include land. From our MLS sales. So this is not county stats, this is through our MLS. Look at the number of homes that sold in 2021 last year. Even if you look at 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, where the rules were so strict for us to show homes, in fact, many people wrote offers on homes they never went inside of. They bought them virtually, all the way up until the day of closing. This is an incredible pace, and it really just shows how robust our market is. The total volume, check it out, year over year. I thought 2020, we were holding on for dear life. We were working so much, long days and nights, multiple offers, negotiating like crazy, and then 2021 comes along, and over $2 million more in production, 200 million more. Only 200 million. Our average sales price, you've been hearing about prices climbing. That will continue to happen. Year over year, we're up, I think that's about 12%. In the previous year, if we looked over the last 3 years, I think countywide we're up about 18%. Again, you guys, this is unprecedented. Yakima, I've always said, is a solid investment because we're 5 to 7% year over year. You could just count on us year after year that would be our appreciation. And then the past couple of years have just blown the doors off on that. I had 275. 23 years ago, we were just talking about this at our awards luncheon yesterday. The average sales price when I got in the business, I think it was $117,000. It's just changed so much. Average list price, so I can put my home on the market. What is the average list? It's $394. It's expensive here. It's expensive here. I'm hoping you guys can kind of see that. The stat sheet that I put on here, I realized it's missing some text. This is for the month of January. This first column here would be 2020, and then 2021, 2021, and then this is 2022, January stats, just to give you an idea. The big number that I think is always really fun, if you guys go down to the second line, it's number of months supply. So the good news is that went up. It's 1.68 months. That means if I don't list another house, we would be out of houses for you guys to buy in less than 2 months. A more balanced market would be 6 months. That's how crazy it is. If you go to the Seattle market, it's like 14 days. I also have the interest rates. So as of this morning, they're right around 3 7/8 to 4%. So everyone's like, oh my God, interest rates are going up. Many of you remember when it was double digits. Many of you remember when it was wraparound mortgages, right? So even though rates are going up, I'm like, come on. It's 4% money. It's still really cheap. Of course, it's going to kick some people out of the market, but not that many. That's really cheap money when it comes to borrowing and building your wealth for the long term. Any questions so far? Okay. I thought I'd talk briefly about the luxury market, partly because if you look there, 2021, homes over $1 million. This was last year. There were 23 properties that sold for over $1 million. 23 homes. Do you guys remember when the first $1 million home went for sale? I think it was about 18 years ago. So even in the last 3 years, how that number has grown. So what did today's new homes look like? I wanted to give you an idea. This is about 1,600 square feet. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's got quartz countertops, custom cabinets. It's got an upgraded carpet, luxury vinyl. It's on an 8,000 square foot lot. This is a teeny tiny lot. $435,000. $266 a square foot. It's nice. It's not super nice. It's nice. But at the end of the day, if you look at the mortgage on $435,000 with 20% down, that your monthly payment's $1,700. I'm renting this house right now to a young couple that moved here for $2,300 a month. $2,300 a month. All right, so what do luxury homes look like? Happens to be my listing. We just went under contract. It's pretty gorgeous. Sits on just under 2 acres. It's got a swimming pool, a cabana. It's got a shop. It's over 4,000 square feet. It's all one level. It's got a nice view of Mount Adams. When it comes to luxury in Yakima, it can be a bunch of different things. It can have a big view and maybe lesser square footage. It might have a huge shop or a super fancy pool and cabana and so forth. Or it might be a nice home, but it's on 40 acres. So it all depends. It's never apples to apples when it comes to this kind of product. A jumbo loan right now just went up in January. So jumbo loans are typically used for luxury products. The jumbo loan amount now is $647,200. But 20% down, your monthly payment would be about $4,700. Wowza, huh? Oh, do I wish I had a crystal ball. I get asked a lot what's going to happen in the Yakima market. I just would always encourage anyone in Yakima, we are a stable real estate market. Even when the recession clobbered most of the U.S., oh, Yakima, we just kept on chugging. We just kept on chugging. We had our share of foreclosures, but it wasn't terrible. According to the National Association of Realtors, values appreciated at an annual rate of 18% at the end of the third quarter last year. We will not see that sort of, I'll qualify it that NAR, Washington Post just did a story on it as well, that they don't anticipate the same sort of return. It won't be 18% again. It'll probably drop back down to around 7%, which we like. We like it more stable and less volatile. The big thing that you see there is the equity gain that you are getting in your home. In 2021, third quarter was estimated about 57,000. So we're seeing more and more people building lots of equity in their home. As a result of the recession, when people were using their homes as ATMs and borrowing money against their house, in fact, borrowing up to 120% worth of the value of their home, they stopped when there was a nice little market correction, right? Now people held on to their homes. So with the market going up, they're holding on, they're making their payments. They've refied to a lower rate. That was back when rates were 6, 7%. Maybe they dropped down when things were in 3%. They're in a better equity position. The forecast. We're hoping that the annual appreciation will drop down. It'll be more like 5 to 6% annual appreciation rate, much more in line with the balanced market. Interest rates will continue to go up. Again, they're going to be north of 4% here pretty quick. They're right around there now, 3 7/8 to 4, depending on credit. They may even get up to 5. I don't know. We'll ask our favorite bankers. Even so, you guys, it's so important for us to maintain a perspective that this is really inexpensive money, and there's still nothing that builds wealth more quickly than owning real estate. Nothing. So it's always a good time to buy a house. Right, Drew? Don't wait to buy real estate and wait. It's a waiting game. Yakima is not necessarily a good market for flipping homes. Some people have been looking into that. Am I running out of time? I could talk all day about real estate. So we're not, because the price of homes are so expensive, you know, for the amount of return that we need. So it really is a waiting game. If you bought a home even 3 years ago, you're going to sell it and still put money in your pocket. It's really fantastic. If you can wait 10 years, I think the appreciation rate will be very rewarding. I goofed on my font there. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Holy smokes. I'm going to... You're a realtor, aren't you? I think you work for me. I love you, Malcolm. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. He could take all of us to lunch. How about that? Yeah, Drew was our top producer last year. He is an exceptional young man. He's been doing this for 3 years, and he's blowing the doors off. So watch him. He's pretty awesome. Verlin? Mm-hmm. 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 So to that point, it really depends on the price point. So anything, honestly, that's under, I'd say, $400,000, you could anticipate multiple offers. An example would be last year, April, if I put a house on the market for $375,000, I'd probably get 20 offers. Today, if I put that house on the market, I'd probably get 7. So the demand is coming down. It doesn't mean there's less buyers out there. There's a lot of, frankly, buyer fatigue. They are writing offers 8 to 10 houses and getting beat out, and then they're like, I'm out, you know, or they have to save up so much more money so that they can compete. We also have a ton of cash in this valley, And yesterday, thankfully, I put 3 contracts together, all cash, and they're luxury products. It's amazing amount of money. John Smith. My advice would be you definitely need a professional realtor advocating for you in order to compete and crafting an offer that is really compelling to the seller. Sellers don't always, it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think, but sellers aren't always about what their net's gonna be. They're gonna look at that, but it's really what the terms are. What we found in this competitive market where there were so many people making offers on a home, they'll accelerate 20, 30, 50, $80,000 above asking, but just because they're doing that doesn't mean that the terms, they have a big down payment, they're willing to cover the appraisal gap if it didn't appraise, they had strong earnest money. Like there's all these components that make a good contract. So it might be terms more than net price when it comes to what a seller's gonna take. We didn't ever see this before. I mean, when it was busy in 2006 and 7, 5, 6, and 7, when we were on fire before, I'd probably get 5 offers on a listing, but to see 20, 30 offers on a listing at a time, it's crazy. I don't like to use the word, it's intense. Yes, John Cooper. That's such a great question. I think John Smith might be able to help me a little bit on this. What I've noticed, and Mr. Fairbrook, is as...
Did you all hear? Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, on this one, I think.
So John Cooper is essentially asking, where are these people coming from? It usually, I think our population is staying pretty stagnant. As many people that come into the valley are leaving Yakima. That was certainly my experience last year. I typically do work with a lot of sellers, and as many people that were selling their home, they left. So it seems like we have this balance: as many people leave, we got as many coming in. The people that I've been working with that are coming in are young professionals. I have a lot of people that are coming through the firing center, even in the ag industry, but they're doing tech jobs. They're gonna be our scientists, computer analysis, that sort of thing. Even people working in distribution warehouses at a manager level, that sort of thing. So more young people has definitely been my experience. Flip side of that is a lot of people who left Yakima and then came back because they found it was a nicer place to retire. It's a great location. Maybe the grandkids are here, that sort of thing. We've had a handful of people from California, Midwest, a couple of people from New York, Florida, even they're coming here as well. So I think it's more of a sprinkling across. Be curious what John Fairbrook would say.
If he were here, he would say,
That's him right there. Yeah.
anyway, what I've seen is some remote working people who are able to leave Seattle, typically to come to Yakima, to do stuff close to the family, or they just couple because they like it. Like Yakima, slower, people are friendly. So there's that component too, the remote working.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, how about one more question from Liz McGree?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Only because it's Liz McGree.
Yay. I love that. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Great information. Appreciate you all coming, and we are adjourned. Remember, all of those who are interested in the marketplace that I've talked to will be meeting in conference room 1 right away. I'll be right there. Ta-da. I like to ring the bell.